Okay, so last month I made a video reviewing the Klowra Limbo reverb, and I mentioned at the time that they'd sent me another pedal, and the time has come to do the second pedal review. This one on the Clara Everlast, which is a delay pedal. I thought, similar to last time, that I would just kind of run through this pedal versus other pedals. They sent me a list of pedals that they consider to be competitors to the two pedals that they sent me, and for the Everlast, there were two pedals on the list, which I happen to own, or actually happen to own predecessors of, because they specified that it was designed to compete with the Boss DD8, which is their current digital delay, and the TC Electronic Flashback 2. And I happen to own the original Flashback and then the DD7, so not exactly the same pedals, but fairly similar pedals. And I thought I would just start by running through the immediate impression of the physical quality of each of the pedals, just like last time. And then we'll get into my thoughts on how it sounds and how it compares as an actual functional pedal to the other two pedals that I have. So I think I'll start by showing you the Everlast this time. Looks like this. It's got 2 ins, 2 outs, 6 knobs, just like the other one. Classic foot switch you get on a lot of boutique pedals. It has a USB in on the top, that's USB-C, and it's a 9-volt, 250 milliamp pedal. I like the construction of it fairly well. It seems like it's beefy enough. It's made out of metal, which is good. It's entirely metal, except for the knobs, which are nice, hard, rubbery plastic, the same as the Limbo. They have a nice resistive turn to them. I don't feel like they're gonna get knocked out of position super easily. Maybe the variety selection is like a little easy to turn, but not terribly concerning by any means. The art is nice again. I can show you that again one more time. And it has that same mode select LED button on the face that's located in the same position as it is on the Limbo. So design-wise, it's basically the same pedal as the Limbo. Obviously, the functionality is different, and we'll get into that in a second. So the other two pedals that we're going to be comparing it to are the Boss Digital Delay. This is a DD7 that I've had for quite a while now. It takes 9 volt as well, has 2 ins, 2 outs, 4 knobs of control on the front, just level, feedback, delay time, and mode, which is a little bit more limiting than the Everlast, but it has a bunch of other built-in features too. I don't know if you've ever used this pedal before. You'll find that it has just like immense functionality, and we'll get into that in a second. It will run you a lot more than a Clara Everlast will, and I think that's kind of going to be the main takeaway from this video, which is that like this might be a very nice pedal. It's also almost $100 more than a Clara Everlast. So it's the difference between paying $130, which I think is the MSRP for the Everlast, and $230, which I think is the MSRP for the digital delay. And I think the Everlast for the price is a really good pedal, as you'll see. Something that's actually a competitor at the same dollar amount is the TC Electronic Flashback. A new one will run you about $130 as well. This is one that I've had for a very long time, and similar to the other two pedals we're going to look at today, it also has 2 ins and 2 outs, and it's got a switch on the front that allows you to select the delay type, which is slightly different, I suppose. And then, yeah, 4 knobs of selection, the same selective options that you get on a DD7. I made a video previously where I talked about this pedal, and I complained that it doesn't have trailing, and then someone was like, oh, there's a dip switch inside it that allows you to turn on trailing. So I did that for this video. Thank you for telling me. I have had this pedal for so long and had no idea that it had that function, probably because I never read the manual, and you should always read the manual when you get a new pedal. Another thing that I'll say about this pedal is that I bought it, and maybe less than a year or two into owning it, the switch on the front broke. And it still works to this day, but it's just mushy, and it doesn't have that same click that you get, you know, in a newer one. And yeah, it just feels pretty cheap, to be perfectly honest. The whole housing is metal, which is nice. The knobs have lasted me a pretty long time, but they're also made out of what feels like a lot more of a brittle plastic than these other two pedals. And I've always been kind of worried that this switch will break too, the type selector switch on the front, but it hasn't yet. So maybe we'll see, maybe in time it will. I do like the way this pedal sounds, but as we'll find, I think for the price, I would probably prefer to get the Everlast, because I think it has just a few more functions that this doesn't have, and we'll get into what those are in just a second. So yeah, those are the 3 pedals that we're going to be taking a look at today. Obviously, we're kind of shooting out the Everlast by comparison to the other two, so we'll probably focus on that a little bit more. Oh, one other thing I neglected to mention is that both the Everlast and the DD7 have expression control inputs as well, which is not something that you get on the TC Electronic. So I think what's going to happen now is we're just going to put them on the board and see how they all sound. Let's get into it. Alright, so I have my Telecaster plugged into my pedal chain here. We got the Bad Monkey on. I'm going into a Tweed style amp simulator. Let's just hear what it sounds like on its own for a second. That sounds all right. Okay, so I think we're gonna start with the two competition pedals actually and just quickly run through their functions, and then I can sort of more clearly explain what makes the Everlast different. So we've got the Flashback to begin with. It has a lot of different settings. Ton of difference between them, really. I think its modular setting is maybe its best feature. Quickly running through all the settings so you kind of get an idea of how they all work. You got this one slap back here. If you're trying to get more like a some old school rockabilly type stuff. And it has a reverse. The reverse option doesn't offer any kind of mixing. So you always hear the guitar a little bit. And it does have a loop feature, which we're going to skip past because it just does loop. And the last is tone print. Which is also very pretty. But there's nothing here that's really adding too much texture overall, like modular and tone print maybe the most. Overall, it's a pretty simple delay pedal. One of the nicest things is that it has the switch on the front, which allows you to go to dotted eighth note and quarter note too. Very easily, I guess, and that's a nice feature. But no matter what you do, it will not self-oscillate. And it doesn't have too many other fancy features other than that. The loop function is nice, I suppose, but now that the knob is broken on the front, you'll notice that I really have to slam my hand down to get it to work, so it doesn't work so great as a loop pedal anymore. As you can see, as I punch my pedal as hard as I can. So that's the Flashback. The digital delay is a little bit different. We'll start with the reverse, and I'll say in this case that the level knob does work like a mix knob. So when you turn it all the way up, you do get no clean signal. But this pedal actually only has 3 kinds of delay, basically. And this is an analog. Modular. And then it does have a hold feature as well, which can do some funky stuff. And there's a whole lot of videos that people go into details about all the little tips and tricks that you can do with a digital delay. But there's also just different levels of delay by millisecond. And that's kind of all the other functions that it has, is these different levels of time delay. They don't actually sound different, they just offer you a different amount of time delay, which is adjustable. And, it sounds good, but it's not adding a whole lot of texture again. One of the features that's really maybe the best about this is that it self-oscillates really nicely. And it'll do this with no signal whatsoever, which is nice. Which is one of the reasons why it's still on my board after all these years. And that might seem like a silly reason to use a particular pedal, but that's why I use this one. Okay, so that's the digital delay and the flashback. Another thing that I didn't mention when I was talking about the appearance of these 3 pedals is that I really like the way that the digital delay has a classic Boss style switch where the whole thing is on a big lever. I feel like those are a lot more reliable than the boutique style switches that you see on a lot of pedals. I know that there's just a switch similar to that underneath it, but it seems like this is just more durable. There are some things, however, that the Everlast does. These 2 pedals don't do, and I think that those are very notable. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, we have way more texture. And that's adjustable, right? I can turn it up if I want. Oops, drop my pick. Oh, it's way gone. Very wobbly sounding, very noisy. In a good way. You can always back that off if you don't like it as much. Yeah, it's got... That was tape, and this is digital. And analog. And you can adjust the tone. And it has a whole separate mix knob for every single level of effect. So you can take the original signal out of everything if you want. This is the reverse, which is a little short in my opinion. But it is very adjustable still. And again, thanks to that mix knob, you can take it all the way out if you want, the original signal that is. And it also has a function called swell, which is quite pretty. So you can tell that this pedal makes a lot better use of its stereo capabilities than both the digital delay and the TC electronic flashback. Granule is really interesting. You can see it's doing all kinds of stuff with the signal. Adding in different pitches, little modulations. I can see this working really nicely as an accompaniment for a synth too. Crystal's kind of like reverse, except it also adds in a little bit of that extra twinkliness, that little bit of glitter that you hear on Granule as well. And then you have Sweeper, which is almost like a flanger sort of sound on top of your delay. And that's very pretty as well. And then lastly, we have the modular. It's a very beautiful modular delay that's very adjustable, just like everything else on this pedal, which is nice. Adjustment, really, I think the key word here when it comes to the Clara Everlast, and their whole line of pedals, really. Having all 6 of those knobs on the front makes it so you can do quite a lot. And similar to the digital delay, it also has a tap tempo feature, which is quite nice. So if you hold down while you have the white color on your LED, it will enter tap tempo mode, and then you can adjust the speed of the delay just by tapping, and you can see it returns entirely on its own after a few seconds. So that's quite nice. And then, similar to the Limbo, it also has a ramp function, which is adjustable using these subsettings. And that's quite nice because in a way it gives you 2 delays in one, similar to the Limbo. And this pedal does self-oscillate, which I think you get kind of the clearest evidence that it can switch between delay modes by looking at the way that it self-oscillates. I think it only self-oscillates on a few modes. All right, so let's save this. Sorry for your ears. We have whatever setting that the knobs are set to. And you can induce this crazy glitch function by setting it like that. And you saw that I saved those settings to the ramp effect by just pressing and holding on the LED. And you can change the parameters of the ramp by adjusting them while you hold down the button. It flashes green. So you have attack and release, and also the type of delay that you get in ramp on the far left there. By type, I mean rhythm. So that's about it for the Everlast. I like it, it's a really nice pedal. I think at the end of the day, if I'm comparing it to the digital delay, on a matter of personal taste for playing guitar, I like the digital delay a little bit more. But as I said at the start of this video, the digital delay is worth almost $100 more, brand new. And on top of that, it actually doesn't have as much functionality as the Everlast does. You don't get quite as much of the little trailing effects and modulation and all the little add-ins and whatnot. All the different settings on the Everlast are very distinctly different and sound really cool. The one thing that I don't love as much on the Everlast is that it doesn't self-oscillate quite in the same way. You still need a little bit of signal to get it there, I find, a lot of the time. And on top of that, it just doesn't sound as nice while it's self-oscillating, in my opinion. You don't get that nice big like pitch sweep, and it doesn't kind of go like woo woo wah, woo, woo, wah, you know, which is very characteristic of the digital delay in particular, and I don't hear too many other pedals that can kind of replicate that. But I guess I would say that comes with trade-offs. Like, I think the digital delay is a lot more obtuse of a pedal. It's a little harder to get into and understand. There's a lot of different things that you can get it to do, but it's very difficult to figure out how to get it to do those things, and you really have to kind of become an expert, I think, in using it if you really want to get the full function out of it. Other than that, it actually has pretty low number of settings compared to the Everlast. So if you're looking for like a plug and play delay pedal that works really well, I would definitely say that the Everlast has it beat by far. Compared to the Flashback, I think that it is a much better pedal. The Flashback doesn't really do too much in the grand scheme of things. It has a lot of different sounds, but they're all kind of similar sounding. And unless you're like really looking for a loop function in your pedal, I would say that it's probably worth it to buy the Everlast over the Flashback, given that they're pretty much the same price. In my last video, I mentioned that there was an issue with this pedal shutting off. Both of the pedals, actually, the Limbo and the Everlast, would shut off sometimes while I was using them. I talked to the company, and they were like, oh, you should probably try putting it into a 250 milliamp specific instead of 200 milliamp specific power supply. That did seem to fix it. Someone in the comments in that video was like, no, that doesn't make a difference. It shouldn't matter. I haven't noticed it happening since I tried 250 milliamp, and my power supply does have 2 dedicated 250 milliamp outputs as opposed to 200. So it does seem to make a difference. I'm not really sure if that's just like it doesn't do it anymore and it was just like a couple of weird instances where it occurred, or if that actually fixed it. I couldn't really tell you. And the one other thing I talked to the company about was in terms of the self oscillation. They were saying that it might work better if I try a firmware update. One thing I noticed is that when I plugged it into my amp and tried the same self oscillating function, it was only producing this like low hum. It would still self oscillate, but it was very low pitched and almost kind of just like subwoofer hum. And I mentioned this to them and they were like, oh well, maybe if you do a software update, a firmware update on it, it will make a difference. So that might be the case. I honestly couldn't tell you. I did not try that yet. I haven't had tons of time. But overall, I think this is a really cool pedal. I'm probably going to keep it. I haven't fully decided yet. I'm not sure if it's entered my rotation on the board. I don't have tons of board space, and frankly, I need the digital delay to do a few effects for some songs. But again, as I've said multiple times now, it's a much more budget-friendly pedal. I still think it sounds amazing. It has some really, really cool features. And I think if you're trying to do something with like synth or noise or ambient music, it has much better applications than the digital delay in a lot of cases. I could see it coming in handy in a lot of instances. It's a really cool pedal, and I really appreciate Klowra sending it to me and giving me the opportunity to review it. Yeah, if you're thinking about buying one, go ahead and head over to their website and give it a shot. Thanks so much for taking a listen and a watch.